Day decides to check in with Rune just to make sure he's okay after whatever's happened with the plan that went awry. And she reveals that she doesn't like working with Pippa, but Agent Daybright hates the Asteri, so she'll work with whoever she needs to take the Asteri down. Honestly, the two of them are getting quite close at this point. They're revealing things to each other they don't necessarily have to, like their motivations. And as they are, they're chilling, chatting, totally planning to fall asleep and basically escape their own locations by spending the night in this little mental bubble they've made together. Day starts telling Rune the story of a witch who gets turned into a monster, and it's obviously meant to be a metaphor, but we don't quite know what for. And I'm just going to say this place where they meet, it's very much like a bridge between them, and the only thing we've ever seen like it before in the Massiverse is very much like the mental scenes between Rhys and Feyre, when the two of them mind communicate. Interesting? I think so. Coincidence? I think not. Now that they're back, Baxian tells everybody that he wants to join the team. He wants to join Team Good Guys. And no one wants him to join. They're all like, good to know. We then find out that the Viper Queen has Emil and that Bryce has kind of set the whole thing up. She got the Viper Queen to find Emil and take him back to hers so that he would be safe from all the other people hunting him in the city. Hun's really mad that Bryce has executed a plan without involving him. I've got to be honest. It's giving fire-breathing bitch queen energy. It's very much a Selena Sardothien, Aelin Galathinius move. But they talk to Emil now that they've got him, and they find out that Emil isn't a Thunderbird. He's got no magic, and that's a lie. Sophie told everybody so that the rebels would try and help her get her brother back. She's a Thunderbird, but Emil isn't. Which Bryce is actually quite relieved to hear because Emil's just an innocent little kid. And Sophie did the right thing, trying to incentivize people to help her save her brother, but it's put a target on his back. Fortunately, Bryce has continued on with her planning. And she's like, great, Emil, you're going to go and live with my mum and Randall. And we find out that the postcards Bryce and her mum have been sending back and forth have basically planned this whole thing out. And so Ember and Randall are all set to adopt Emil and pretend that they've had him for a while. She made sure, she kind of knew. She was like, if I was Sophie, I would lie about my brother having magic. So she's lined it all up so that Emil is going to go and be with Bryce's parents and be safe. Rune gets Bryce to come over, and Bryce finds out about the whole many fire sprites and dragon situation. And Ariadne tells them all that she was given to the astronomer as a gift by an archangel, but doesn't say which one. We also find out that dragon fire can hurt the princes of hell. So I imagine Ariadne is going to become quite important if war is imminent. We also have behind not Dob hunt in as a rebel. And she's like, I like watching you squirm. I like knowing something no one else knows. I've got my eyes on you, Hunt Athalar. So it's kind of mind games going on. Now, Hypaxia asks Rune, who at this point is her fiance, to lend her some guards because she's worried about other witches attacking her. They are very much not a fan of having a queen who is a necromancer. And Ethan offers to help out. He's like, oh, I'll guard you, Hypaxia. And obviously Ethan's logic is that if Hypaxia is a necromancer, maybe she can see if Connor's spirit is still somewhere, if Ethan can talk to the spirit of his dead brother. And Hypaxia's like, I mean, I could try, but I can only do it on this specific date. That's the day I can communicate with the dead. Hunt tells Tharian, mate, I know you're on this mission to go and find Emil, but just a heads up. The kid's got no magic. There's no point in looking for him. And Tharian's like, FML, thanks for letting me know. Apparently, Bryce throwing her weight around and calling herself, the princess of the Valbaran Fae. That now means her dad has a public claim on her, and he's like, great, you are definitely 100% marrying Cormac. If you're going to throw my name around, you're officially my daughter, and I get to make this decision. And as they're having a disagreement, a passionate disagreement about this engagement, he sees the numbers she's got jotted down from Sophie, the ones that are on Sophie's arm, and he straight away looks at Bryce and's like, do not be messing with the Asteri. Okay? They will go after your mother and Randall. Stop while you're ahead. And we're like, what does the Autumn King know? What is he not telling us? And what is it about the numbers that he knew straight away had to do with the Asteri? Now, Bryce decides to trust Hypaxia. She is, after all, Rune's fiance and a very powerful witch. And she catches her up on everything she's found out. And Hypaxia's like, oh, yeah, I knew about the bone quarter stuff already. And everyone's like, what? And Hypaxia's like, I'm a necromancer. Of course I know that they are eating, like, spirits are disappearing. Hypaxia says what she's more interested in is why every generation born on Midgard, they're just getting a little bit less powerful. So it's just less magical now than it was generations prior. At this point, a Reaper Hound turns up and attacks them. And obviously, Ethan gets in the way, so it's attacking Ethan. So Hypaxia shoots her witch magic at Bryce, which Bryce then converts into her Starborn light magic and defeats the Hound. Hypaxia then goes and heals Ethan, and Hunt brings up the possibility that maybe it is, in fact, the other witches trying to kill Hypaxia. They're summoning these, like, demon hounds to try and kill her off. We also have Ariadne runs off. Don't know what happens to her. She goes. Homegirl pieces out, and Tharian decides to move in with the guys. So we now have Rune, Declan, and Flynn all living together with Ethan and Tharian in the lad's house, alongside multiple fire sprites. Rune's just pulling his hair out like, ah! And Rune has the idea that he and Agent Daybright, they should meet at midnight at Celestina's mating ball. And Day's really hesitant about agreeing, which is like, okay, if we can, I will meet you at this specific spot at this specific time at the party. At this ball, Bryce introduces Hunt to everybody as her mate. And this obviously does the round before any, like, official betrothal with Cormac. So the Autumn King is pissed off. At the party, Hypaxia gets to meet her half-sister, the Hind, for the first time, and it's not great. I do kind of see this, though, as a situation where one got to be raised by their mother, and then by the sounds of it, the other, Lydia, the Hind, is kind of abandoned. Like, general consensus is the Stag King, Lydia's father's, not a nice guy. And so you understand there being resentment there, even though I'm not gonna be like, we should forgive everybody. But even at this point in the story, I did not hate Lydia. I want everybody to know this. But the two of them have a little private chat, and Rune makes his way to the meeting spot, this fountain, and he sees the harpy, Baddie the harpy. He's like, oh, Day? And she's like, what? He's like, oh, thank God. And runs off and bumps into Lydia behind on his way out. We have, at this party, Bryce and Hunt are, like, getting it on. They go into a, like, cupboard, like a storage room, and they find, guess, this is such a good reveal as well. This is such a good, guess who they see in the cupboard together. Celestina and Hypaxia. Lesbian angel and witch. And Celestina freaks out that they're going to reveal, like, obviously, she is a lesbian and she doesn't want to mate with this other angel. But Bryce is like, babes, Hypaxia, Celestina, you're all good. We support this. Women supporting women, Now, after the party, Rune and Day meet again in the mind space, and Day's like, oh, I'm so sorry I didn't manage to meet up with you. But I know who you are now. You're Rune Dannon. And he's like, well, I can't say yes, but I might be the prince. And he's like, oh, I went to the meeting place, but I bumped into the harpy and I had a panic for a minute because I thought, oh my God, you couldn't be one of those bad guys. How weird would that be? That'd be the worst case scenario. And Day's like, mm-hmm. That would be really bad. We then get an important reveal from the Prince of the Pit to Bryce. Remember, Bryce and Hunt, they're having all these dreams. The Prince of the Pit's talking to them. And he's telling her, look, you need to train more. You need to train up. Reveals that Thea was actually working with Hel to try and overthrow and end the Asteri. It also tells her that Thea and Adis, the demon we've already met, they were lovers, they were a couple, and that the Asteri have kind of wiped this from history because it doesn't fit the narrative they want to be pushing in Midgard. Apollyon also tells her it's in her best interest to open the portals and let Hel through. The demons who came through and were attacking Lunathian, they were trying to find the Asteri to fight them. Now, it's finally the date Hypaxia gave Ethan, so she agrees to try and contact Connor, but instead summons the Underking. And then she and Ethan, they end up getting trapped in this like evil maze thing. We also get Bryce telling Cormac, look, Emil's live. He's fine. Stop looking for him. Hypaxia and Ethan turn up and they tell Bryce that she needs to go to the temple, otherwise the Underking is going to go through with deading the pack of devils. Bryce arrives at this temple and the Underking is literally sat on the throne in there. Meanwhile, Tharion has found out that Ariadne is now fighting for the Viper Queen. He wants some information about the rebels from the Queen, and the conversation doesn't really go well. We also find out that these Reapers that keep attacking, apparently the Asteri themselves have been summoning them. Now, Pippa and the rebels arrive at this temple. Bryce manages to teleport everyone else away, but she doesn't manage to escape herself. And Murdoch arrives. Scary, scary, scary. Baxian shows up and helps Bryce escape using the secret tunnels built into the temple. And Bryce reveals that she kind of used the gates to call everybody and let them know that the rebels were going to be there so that Murdoch would then turn up and everyone would have to scatter. Cause this big fight between Murdoch and the rebels and the Hind. So Bryce is like, ha ha ha, I got all of my people out of the way, but caused a lot of drama with all the bad guys together in one place. Baxian's been having a really hard time trying to convince our core group that he is a good un and he is on their team. And now that it's just Baxian and Bryce together, he takes the opportunity to show her his tattoo. A little secret hidden tattoo. And he's like, Bryce, look, let me prove I'm on your side. And his tattoo reads, through love, all is possible. And Bryce is like, how do you know that phrase? And Baxian's like, well, she never got the chance to tell you, Bryce, but Danica and I were mates. I told you, reveal after reveal after reveal, and this one in particular is just bananas. Bryce is like, I beg your pardon? Danica had a what? Your who? And apparently, Danica and Baxian were like a couple, super duper on the DL for 2 years. And Danica never told Bryce. Now, we do understand Baxian is in with all the bad uns, so not great optics, but still a shady thing for Danica to keep on the DL. Like, this is the second, well, no, it's not. It's the multipleth secret thing we found out about Danica, but you can kind of understand her keeping her dad on the DL, like the identity of him, because he really is like evil. And now we've got her keeping her mate on the DL as well, but because he's this quite like public bad guy figure. And obviously Bryce is like, did she think I wouldn't understand? Did she think I would judge her? You know, this really is bothering Bryce because we're just getting even more of maybe Bryce doesn't know everything about Danica. But I do kind of feel like, do your friends have to know everything about you? Do they? Then another part of me is like, but they're soul sisters. These are the kind of things you should share. So Danica's obviously got good reasons keeping them secret. I have faith. Now, Bryce shows Baxian the numbers that they've got from Sophie, and Baxian's like, I know what these are because I gave them to Danica, and Danica gave them to Sophie. They are the number of a room inside the Asteri's Eternal City. It's secret room that I found out about and I told Danica about, and Danica told Sophie about, and now you guys know about. He reveals that Danica was obsessed with finding out what was going on in this room, and that Danica got Sophie on board to help with her investigation because Danica was being quite closely watched by the Asteri at this point. You know, she'd already annoyed Mika. So she had Sophie investigating as a proxy. That's how they are connected. It's what they were working on together. So my tech whiz Declan, he's like, well, I will hack the cameras of the Eternal City and see what was going on near this room. And he finds camera footage of Sophie managing to get in and leaving this room, which no cameras look into and there are no cameras inside of. Bryce calls Fury and's like, what the hell is going on? Did you know any of this? Tell me what you know now. And so Fury supplies Bryce and the team with maps to help them locate the room.